The distant and aloof Cedric Harrison and the sweet-talking Cedric Harrison kept switching in my mind, and I couldn't tell which one was the real him. But what does it matter who the real Cedric Harrison is, and what does it have to do with me? We are already divorced, and he is about to get engaged to Giselle Baker. Ding! Wisnovel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. Even if there were really any grudges or resentments between him and the Bakers, it has nothing to do with me. The northern region had long been cold and frozen in early autumn, with chilly leaves falling around me. I tightly wrapped my coat around me and hurried home. The maid saw my frozen red face and quickly made me a cup of hot tea, but even the steaming hot tea seemed to have no effect when I drank it. I remained ice cold all over, especially in my heart. I looked out the window, my thoughts drifting unconsciously into the distance. Cedric Harrison had been good to me once. He was always distant and taciturn, but he remembered my menstrual cycle better than I did. He always remembered to prepare brown sugar water and my favorite tissues for me at that time. Not long after I had learned to drive, I was in a minor accident. The day he rushed over, I saw the sweat on his forehead from the urgency, and when I tried to seduce him in sexy lingerie for a strategy mission, I clearly saw his ears turn red and his Adam's apple move involuntarily up and down. I think he must have had feelings for me, at least before Giselle Baker appeared. The familiar voice of the system brought me back to reality. System repair successful. Telepathy function temporarily disabled. So, does this mean I won't be able to hear Cedric's thoughts anymore in the future? Host, you and Cedric Harrison are already divorced. I can transport you away at any time. The destination is peaceful and romantic, and there are handsome men everywhere. You will definitely like it. I used to plan like this, to find a beautiful place without Cedric and continue living. But ever since I could hear his thoughts, my heart wavered again. My dear wife, trust me. His desperate voice echoed in my mind once again. After a painful struggle in my mind, I gathered the courage to say to the system, wait until I see him engaged, then send me away. It's better for one person to be happy than for both to be miserable. As soon as I finished speaking, a plane ticket to another country appeared on the table. My breath suddenly stopped, and tears couldn't help but fall. I dared not look at it, as if glancing at the ticket would immediately send me away. I curled up in fear under the covers. Even after the divorce, Cedric Harrison still comes to my house every night. In my sleep, I saw him accurately turning on the night light. His slender fingers quickly unbuttoned his shirt. Just as his gaze swept over the plane ticket on the table, his fingertips paused. Are you leaving? He strode to the bed, his eyes fixed on me. I was enveloped by his dim figure, surrounded by darkness, so oppressed that I didn't even have the strength to speak. Yes, just a simple word, filled with endless grievance and choking. Silence filled the room. He didn't speak again, just silently lay down beside me. I no longer had the ability to read his mind. I had no idea what he was thinking. Suddenly, I realized the biggest problem between us. That is, he doesn't speak, and I never ask. Nyla, do you believe me? His voice was hoarse, with a hint of inexplicable sadness. I turned my head to look at him, and found him staring at me with a serious expression. The person I have always liked has been you. I thought it was mind reading again, but this time I clearly saw his thin lips part, revealing a row of neat, white teeth. But we are divorced, and you are engaged to Giselle Baker. This was an undeniable fact. Please believe me and wait for me a little longer, okay? Don't leave me. I will give you an answer soon. I have already revised the terms of the divorce agreement, and you can take all of my cash assets. Can you give me a few more days? His words turned into a plea at the end. I looked at his glistening eyes, my heart softened, and I nodded. At the entrance of a five-star hotel in City A, the engagement photos of Cedric Harrison and Giselle Baker were sweetly displayed on a huge electronic screen. I adjusted my breathing and walked in gracefully with the invitation personally delivered by Giselle Baker. The Harrison family and the Baker family were both influential figures in City A, and the scene at the engagement ceremony was adorned with real flowers and luxury that was jaw-dropping. I found a corner to sit down, but still attracted a lot of attention and whispers from the people who saw me. I was probably the first person in City A to attend my ex-husband's wedding banquet. Miss Foster, I am an entertainment reporter from City A. Can I ask if you and Mr. Harrison parted peacefully? What made you decide to attend the engagement banquet of the Harrison and Baker families? Before the seat even warmed up, I was surrounded by a group of reporters. They asked one tricky question after another, and the flashlights kept flashing on my face, staring at me as if the next hot topic would be about me as soon as I spoke. I was about to come up with an excuse to escape when suddenly, countless lights lit up at the engagement venue. The ceremony is beginning. The reporters immediately scattered and crowded towards the center of the stage, and my gaze followed suit. Upbeat music started playing, and Giselle Baker appeared in a stunning fishtail white gown under the dazzling lights. She looked dazzling, and her overflowing sweetness struck directly at my heart. A bit of pain spread throughout my body, and my fingertips deeply embedded into my palms. I comforted myself weakly. Once I say goodbye to Cedric Harrison for the last time, I will leave. The familiar figure walked slowly to the center of the stage, scanning the crowd as if looking for something, until his gaze landed on me. Giselle Baker also noticed Cedric's unusual behavior. She nervously looked at him, but Cedric did not respond at all. He picked up the microphone and calmly spoke. "Thank you all for taking the time to attend this banquet. However, today, I have something more important to tell everyone. That is to expose the true face of the Baker family." As Cedric's voice fell, the whole room was in an uproar. The next moment, the engagement photos on the big screen were replaced by evidence of the Baker family intentionally selling inferior materials and hiring someone to commit murder. One by one, the documents and data all accused the Baker family of their crimes over the years. I stared at Giselle Baker, whose face had already turned black with anger, wishing I could rush up and kill her. Because among the pile of ironclad evidence, I saw the evidence of the Baker family framing my foster family, black and white, mercilessly telling me that the accident years ago was no accident. And the Baker family standing in front of me now is the executioner who destroyed my foster family. My breathing became more and more rapid due to anger, and I suddenly stood up, wanting to seek justice for my foster family, only to find Cedric's gaze slowly shifting towards me. For a moment, everyone in the hall's attention was focused on me. She is the only daughter of the Foster family, Nyla Foster. Initially, the Foster family forcibly took on the Baker family's project at a low price, causing the Baker family to hold a grudge. The Baker family deliberately offered a cash condition of $5 million, luring material suppliers to provide inferior materials to the Foster family. After the safety accident at the Foster family, the Baker family refused to pay a huge amount of money and instigated other companies to come and demand payment, indirectly causing the destruction of the Foster family. His gaze still fixed on me, but not as indifferent as before. His eyes were calm as water, but with obvious heartache and concern. After the Foster family fell, Giselle Baker became even more unscrupulous. She bought the Foster family's industry at a low price, and out of resentment, tried to use the same method to force Nyla Foster to death through the hands of the creditors. Fortunately, with my help, Nyla Foster escaped. Now I have made all the evidence public, and I believe the law will give justice to my wife, Nyla Foster. Several police officers in uniform walked straight to Giselle Baker and her parents. The Baker parents were forcibly taken out of the hall by the police, shouting as they left, "Cedric Harrison, you are a heartless villain. I gave my all to you, but you bite back at me. I see that you married a Foster family daughter and became a dog of the Foster family." Giselle Baker followed behind her parents and was also taken out. But before leaving the hall, she looked back at Cedric and me deeply, her eyes red and hopeless, looking as if she already knew everything. There were many friends and relatives of the Baker family in the hall, but at this time, not a single person stood up to speak for the Baker family. The Baker family was finished, everyone knew it in their hearts. The hall was silent. Only the journalists were staring at Cedric with great anticipation, hoping he would reveal some big news. Cedric walked slowly towards me, and the journalists swarmed towards me as well. "Nyla, this is my explanation to you. The Harrison group was no match for the Baker group in the past. I was afraid Giselle Baker would harm you again. Even though I married you and loved you so much, I didn't dare to show any affection. Later, I found out that the deaths of your mother and father were related to the Baker family. In order to uncover the truth and help you regain the family property, I intentionally showed goodwill to Giselle Baker. As soon as I gathered enough evidence, I established the NF company in your name, and I helped you regain the market that was once divided by the Baker family. Now everything is back to its original owner." Cedric looked at me affectionately, and the surrounding people sighed. I didn't expect the aloof Mr. Harrison to be such a devoted lover. Today, the entertainment news will definitely headline this. The secret boss behind the NF company is actually Cedric Harrison. No, it's Nyla Foster. The journalists around us were talking excitedly, but I was staring at the appointment letter for the CEO position handed to me by Cedric Harrison, feeling my eyes turning red. It turned out that he had been silently protecting me all along. Then, I suddenly felt his embrace around my waist, pulling me into his warm arms. I felt his warm breath on my cheek, and he nuzzled my neck, looking aggrieved and pleading. "Are you still going to leave now?" As I looked up, I unexpectedly fell into his tender and affectionate gaze. Even without mind-reading abilities, I could still hear his inner voice. I can't leave now, Cedric Harrison." I gathered up my courage, about to tell him that I wanted to stay, when the system suddenly made a sound. "The time is up. Host Nyla Foster, please click the confirmation button to complete the task and leave. The system want to send me away?" I was eager to refuse, but Cedric was even more anxious than me, and he just held me tightly in his arms. "You useless system, I asked you to help me to gain my wife's heart. Who gave you the right to take away my wife? What's going on? Unbind." I looked at Cedric in shock, unable to believe it, and asked, "You can hear the system's voice?" He glared at me impatiently and complained, "The system was supposed to help me to conquer you, but because of the Baker family, I had the system bind you. My original intention was to let the system help me win your heart. Who let it take the initiative to incite you to divorce and take you away?" At this time, the system retorted defiantly, "Who told you to put on a bad face every day? And you even flirted with other women. Anyway, you are already divorced. I want to take Nyla to another country to have fun." "Nyla, click confirm quickly." As soon as he heard that the system wanted to take me away, Cedric immediately became angry. "Unbind first, then destroy it. No one can take my dear wife away. I still want to kiss and hug my wife, and have babies with with her. Cedric, who dominated the business world, was now acting like a child. I gently embraced him, but couldn't help but playfully want to scare him. I pretended to be regretful and said in his ear, "Cedric Harrison, we did indeed get divorced." He looked up in surprise, his face full of eagerness. His expression seemed a bit unexpected. "Will you not leave once we get married?" His quirky train of thought caught me off guard. I was about to explain, but he didn't give me a chance to deny it at all. He clapped his hands and shouted loudly, "All right, let the wedding begin." The next second, the electronic screen showed the wedding photo of Cedric Harrison and me 3 years ago, and friends and reporters around us seemed to have conspired to bless us. It turns out, he had planned it all along. "Nyla, please give me another chance. Let me take care of you and love you for a lifetime." There was enthusiastic applause all around, and I couldn't help but bury my head in his arms and cry uncontrollably. All the grievances and complaints turned into nothing at this moment. I believed that the road ahead for Nyla Foster and Cedric Harrison is full of happiness.